Welcome to the 98% podcast where we hear real stories from real people. And I'm here with Jodi. So, Jodi, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name's Jodi Phillips. I know Ricky from childhood, so we've been friends for a long time. And let's see, I'm a military wife. We've got two boys, 9 and 12, who keep us very busy and active. I'm a personal trainer and nutritionist. And so I have a online presence with that. And I love weight training. I love talking to people. I love personal growth, all the things. So,
Awesome. Okay. So, real quick. So, it's been a while because besides like kind of reuniting for like the Days Jam or like the things there,
yeah.
like, yeah, like I haven't seen you so much. So, like, bring us up to speed. Like, what's been going on since high school?
Gosh. Well, so my husband's military career has kept us
Hmm.
very busy and on the go.
Hmm.
Uh, for a good chunk of our marriage, we were moving every 18 to 24 months, with kids and, all of the craziness that comes with that. We've since settled, and he will be finishing out his career kind of between two locations in Missouri, but we're settled like right in the middle, at Lake of the Ozarks, which is
Hmm.
where we grew up. And so,
Hmm.
it's been a stark difference between basically being on our own for, every time we move, never having family, kind of having to recreate community, having to recreate relationships, friendships. Um, and then going to like we literally have family and friends just automatically, like my mother-in-law and father-in-law, they moved from Texas to a half a mile down the street the same
Nice.
the same month that we moved here. And so just having them right there, it's like so weird. I'll take the dog for a walk and they'll drive by and they'll be waving at me. Or like my kids will be out in the front yard and they'll stop and they'll honk their horn at the kids and, holler something out at them on the street while they're driving by. And I'm sure our neighbors think we're really Hoosier, but it's fun to have, it's fun to have them. My parents moved part-time. They have a condo here that's zero point 0.8 miles that way. So it's different for sure having all of that kind of built in. So but yeah, it's been good. It's been good. My job, I work online again as a personal trainer and a nutritionist for a company called Macros Inc. And I've been with them for about 6 years, and I'm a manager position with them. So I have coaches that report to me. We work on client work and connection, relationships, helping them reach their goals and kind of figuring out what's going to work best for them. And then, yeah. So that's kind of the gist of all the things. We've full into football season right now, so that's kind of taken up a lot of our extra time.
That's awesome. That's going to be such a switch too, going from moving so much and being kind of on your own to just, yeah, having family, being in this, Lake of the Ozarks. Like it's crazy that you ended up back in Lake of the Ozarks.
I
Wild.
know, no, of all places. And, because they're like, how is your husband military? And like, how do you live here? And so he works at the state capitol, at the Missouri National Guard headquarters in Jeff City. So he just commutes that direction every day. And, um, he'll go to Lebanon, starting this fall sometime. He'll start commuting to Lebanon for work. So different position, but still in the military. And, so it's fun. It's interesting. We enjoy it. It has its ups and downs, just like any other kind of lifestyle, but
Hmm.
the being settled has been it's been more of an adjustment than I thought it would be.
Hmm.
So this is we just passed our second year being here, which traditionally is the time that we were also usually preparing for the next move.
Hmm.
So this summer, it was just weird because we knew he was going to be getting a new job, but there was still that like little bit of like anxiety in me of like, okay, but will this new job require us to move, or did we make the right choice, coming here and being
Hmm.
kind of that in between? And sure enough, our plans actually worked out, and he got to go to Lebanon. So, so it's like plans don't always work out the way you want them to. But this time it did happen to just work out the way we had intended. So that kind of felt good, but also, just like that little piece in us of like, we should be moving right now. We should be preparing for this, right?
Yeah,
But we
yeah.
do. So we've gotten over that hump, obviously, and just thrilled that we're getting to stay here again and not have to pack everything up and leave again.
That's good. That's good. There's something that's nice about kind of being able to settle, like kind of having like a, kind of like a foundation or some place that you call home base, right? So that's got to be nice.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is nice. And I mean, I've loved it. It's fun because I've got so many different stories and I've met so many different people over the years when we've moved. And
Mhm.
it's funny because when we first got married and um, we found out that he was deploying to Afghanistan, we had to move about 5 hours from here. And it was the first time, I mean, I never moved growing up. Like my
Mhm.
parents took me home to the same house that I moved out of when it was
Mhm.
time to move on to college, right? And so, and then even in college, we went to Springfield and we had a lot of friends there. And then he took an internship at the state capitol in Jeff City. And so we moved to Jeff City. So I was just right down the road from family and friends. And I had never really had to like go out and actually create connection with new people. And I remember I called my mom crying because I was like, I can't make new friends. I don't know how to make new friends. I'm going to be so alone in this new town. And shout out to Poplar Bluff, Missouri. It is a small town. There are some amazing people there, but before we moved there, I was very nervous, and I thought he's going to be gone for a year, and I'm going to be living in this place that I don't know anybody.
Mm.
And so it was interesting, but my mom reassured me. She's like, "You're going to do fine. You're going to do fine. Just be yourself." And the things that we as parents would tell our kids, right?
Mhm.
And at the time, you don't know that you necessarily believe it because you haven't proven it to yourself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so it so yeah, and it worked out fine. I met some amazing friends who I'm still friends with to this day, and that was kind of the eye opener for me of like, oh, if I really want this to be something that enriches my life experience, like I can do that, or I can make it miserable, and I can, stay
Mhm.
in my shell, and I can refuse to meet new people, refuse to open myself up, and through every move, you have to kind of restart with that mindset. And, I've been very blessed in the fact that the majority of the moves that we've made, I've been able to find community and people that are still in my life today.
Mhm.
There was some experiences at some of the places that were definitely a hit to the self-esteem temporarily, but ultimately at the
Uh-huh.
end, it was like, oh, that was probably not the friendships that I needed to embrace. If they couldn't
Uh-huh.
embrace me for who I was, then it wasn't somebody that I needed to be a friend with. And so that was always kind of hard because I am naturally a people pleaser and naturally like chameleon of like, I want everybody to like me. But I
Uh-huh.
think through it all and kind of getting to know different people and hearing their stories and their life experiences, like I'm a much more tolerant individual than I think some people are simply due to the fact that I've been in so many different positions and have been able to have open conversations with people who've grown up in vastly different environments than me.
Mhm.
And, and so I guess it's kind of built me to who I am today. And
Uh-huh.
uh, I feel more confident in who I am because I've had these interactions with other people who've had such unique life experiences, and yet they're just some of the most amazing people that I've known. It's like, oh, okay, like I can do that too. Like I can be an authentic person. And if people don't like that for that, that's fine. But
Uh-huh.
it's okay. They're not my people, you know. So It's been interesting. I don't know. That was maybe more than you needed to know, but
No, that's perfect. No, I like that because yeah, a lot of those interactions, that stuff builds character, right? All those struggles, and I think you have a really healthy perspective on it too, being able to be like, well, I'm going through it regardless. I could be miserable or I could make it work for me, and it sounds like you made it work for you.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and
Well,
then,
in a world that's so intolerant of people who are different from you anymore,
mhm,
it just seems so, I don't know. It just seems so crazy to me having lived the experience of like, well, like I've had to get to know people who are very different from me. And
mhm.
maybe had to isn't the right word. I've gotten to. And I think that that has shaped, just how I view people and people that maybe are misunderstood or people who I don't know, who don't know me and trying to kind of find some common ground of, how do we relate to each other? So,
Yeah, yeah, we got more that's similar than different, but sometimes we let those differences get in the way of actually getting to know people.
for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so just for the audience to let them know is kind of how this works. This is their first episode. I have a set of questions that I gave Jodi, and she had time to kind of think about them. And what we're going to do is go down these series of questions, and the goal is for you all as the audience to be able to connect with her story. So we'll start with the first one, which is going to be kind of start at the beginning. So, what was growing up like for you?
It was fun. Obviously, we grew up here in central Missouri,
Hmm.
on Lake of the Ozarks, so it's a pretty unique childhood, I think. My parents had a house on the water, so we got to go boating and all the things. But we had four kids in my family, so it was um, more chaos than calm. And which is fun. It's fun. It has its challenges, but I think looking back, I can say that my childhood was more fun because we had so many kids running around all the time. And, I had friends who they would come to my house and maybe it was just they were an only child or one of my best friends, Jessica, she would come to my house and she would get into arguments with my sister. And I remember they got into an argument one time that was like a pretty big deal. And I was like, oh my gosh, and I like went to my mom and I was like, I can't believe that Bethany said XYZ to Jessica. And I thought for sure, like, Jessica's not going to want to be my friend anymore because she came to my house and got in an argument with my sister. And like the next week we were talking about it and Jessica was like, no, she's like, your house is so interesting. There's always something happening. There's always someone to go like bug or pester, or
Hmm.
somebody's always arguing with somebody else. She's like, it's just me and my sister at home and it's boring. She's like, your house is so exciting. And I'm like, okay, different perspectives. That's interesting. So that was, so having two older sisters and a younger brother, there was always something going on. And, my parents had to do what they had to do to provide for us. And so they were working long hours and, lots of that. So we were, sometimes, a lot of times just kind of like on our own during the day in the summertime, like go figure out what you're going to have for lunch, go outside, go play, go explore. And, so it was fun in that as well. And yeah.
That's cool. I didn't know you had that many siblings because all I knew is you had your younger brother because I've met him because he used to go to church with
Uh-huh.
me, and yeah, he was a funny dude. I loved him.
Yeah, Zach. So he's married and has two kids now, and
Wow.
we always joked because he was the baby. He was the only boy. He was the only boy cousin. So I mean, like of all the girls, he was the only boy. So he
Uh-huh.
he did get special treatment as much as he will say he did not. He got special treatment. Like Christmas, I just remember thinking like I'd get clothes and he'd get remote control cars. And and I want a remote control car. And so but I always joke because he was like my first, I was 6 when he was born. So he was like my first
Hmm.
baby, you know.
Hmm.
Uh, like I would mother him to the point that it would drive him crazy, I'm sure. But it was like, I don't know. I guess maybe because we did have such a big family, I just felt like it was like my responsibility to take care of him. And it was like, he's my baby. And so he gave me a lot of good practice through the years of, being the big sister and being able to relate to boys because now obviously I'm a boy mom and
Yeah.
so, but yeah, he's great and his wife is amazing and their kids are just perfect. So it's fun. But yeah, and then my middle sister, um, she has a boy named Lincoln who is the same
Mhm.
age as my youngest. And so he comes and spends several weeks with us in the summer and we have a lot of fun, but there's also like something about having another boy in the house where there's always some friction and somebody's always fighting with somebody. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, we gotta go outside. Y'all gotta burn off some energy because you guys aren't getting along right now. And then my oldest sister is a nurse, and she loves to travel the world and so that's what she gets to do, and I think it's amazing. So yeah, we're all like we've gone through our stages of childhood, adolescence, adulthood, and I feel like we're at a good place where we're all pretty close, even though we're pretty much spread across the states. So
Wow. That's neat. That's neat. Yeah, it's fun hearing. I'm glad Zach's doing well because it's been, like I said, it's been forever, and all I remember him is as like it's like kid Zach, because he was 6 years younger than me, but I just remember being really funny. So it's fun to see like, wow, he's grown up with kids and a wife. Like, wow,
he's
that's pretty
still
cool.
fun. He's still fun, and he's still a
Oh,
kid.
I imagine.
My boys are like, Uncle Zach, Uncle Zach, Uncle Zach. You know, like, I used to be cool too, okay, guys? I used
Mhm.
to. And then I had kids. And so even though he's got two kids of his own, I admire the fact that when he comes, he always tries to make sure he gets some time with my boys as Uncle Zach,
Mhm.
right? And I know that that's hard because you're tired I mean, his kids are toddler and I think he's 6 months, 6 or 8 months. So, I mean, he's got little ones and,
Mhm.
it's hard because he's giving so much to them, but it's always admirable when he comes here because he'll try to go out and play football with the boys or, look at my oldest into sports, 4%, loves it. My youngest, he loves art and anything creative. And so they could not be any different in that regard. But
Mhm.
yeah, when Zach comes, he always tries to make sure he's engaging with, my oldest, with Cyrus, with sports, and, asking my younger son, what are you doing in art? Show me some of your artwork. And, just
Mhm.
making them feel special in that way.
Okay. So next question. This is one of my favorites. So what's the biggest struggle that you've made it through?
I think there's anxiety probably is like my biggest struggle.
Uh-huh.
Um, and, I think mental health is an interesting topic of conversation because I think it's becoming a lot more widely accepted as like, oh, this is a legitimate issue for people.
Yep.
And I love that. I do. I love that. And I've always been so introspective to try to understand myself and try to understand other people. My bachelor's degree is in psychology with an
Mm.
emphasis in family counseling because that's what I was going to go into was so psychology, sociology is my degree. And I was actively applying to schools to become a therapist when I found out I was pregnant with my first, and then my husband's career started moving us more. And so I never got to go finish that degree
Mm.
and all of that. But the idea of mental health and, kind of how different experiences in our lives have shaped who we are and the things that we struggle with in the later years. And so I can't say that I've conquered my anxiety because
Uh-huh.
I think it I don't think anxiety is a bad thing. I think to some degree there's that little voice in your head that is telling you to be mindful about things that are happening around you. It's when that anxiety kind of takes over and keeps you from being able to be authentically who you are or show up in a way in the world that makes you proud, that it starts to become more of an issue. And that's where you have to kind of learn these coping mechanisms. And there were definitely some traumatic experiences specifically revolving around like death that
Mm,
I witnessed firsthand as a very, very young child. Like
mm,
my first experience with it was I was third grade. So I was a year younger than my youngest son is right now. And was with one of my best friends. And it was Valentine's Day. I remember that. And we went to go check on her aunt who had really bad diabetes and some pretty serious medical complications. And when we came in, we found she had passed. And
mm.
at that age, so young, um, you don't know how to process that. I mean, even
Yeah.
as an adult, like the idea of death is still so tough. And I just remember like my anxiety. That was the first time like I really started to notice my anxiety and how it was impacting my life. And it was a way for my body to cope with the stress of it, right?
Yeah.
And so over the years, there were just different things that I'm like this, like finally as an adult talking to my therapist about it and kind of going through these other experiences that I've had throughout my life. She's like, you realize that's not normal, right? Like most people don't ever experience one of these things, and you've experienced like three or four
Mm,
notable experiences with death. And
yeah.
my anxiety comes around massive loss, the idea that I could
Mm,
lose something that is just so important to me. And so through that self discovery and kind of reopening those wounds and things, it's like I've learned more about me and my trauma and how that shapes my fears and the way that I view the world today. Um, and by being able to have that insight into myself and how these experiences has shaped how I view the world, I have more skills in managing the anxiety in a
yeah.
way that is much healthier. And I mean, it's still there. Like the voice is
Yeah.
still there. I'm better at calming it when it starts to get a little bit louder. Um, it's not always perfect. There's still times that we call it my worry monster. and and my husband will just like gently be like, I think your worry monster is taking over. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I think it is too. So I need to like kind of put into practice some of these things that I've been working on over the years. And so, yeah, I think that is probably the thing that has impacted my life in so many different ways. And so finding skills to work through that has been more beneficial and life changing for me and my family too, you know. And so that I think is probably like the biggest thing that I feel most proud of like I'm working through that and I feel like I have such a better relationship with my anxiety and just understanding that it's not always the enemy, but it's not always true either. It's not
Hmm.
always the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy because death is one of those things it's always tough to wrestle with, you know. So it makes sense that I mean, especially that young, like having anxiety around those issues. And so for people out there, because that's becoming, oh man, it seems like everywhere I turn, people are struggling with anxiety. So what are some things or some tips that you could give somebody? Like, what's the best ways that has helped you to be able to kind of manage anxiety that maybe would be beneficial for maybe people listening to look into?
Yeah, I mean, I think so for me, right? A lot of my anxiety
Uh,
is around like the loss and death of the people I love. Like that is
um,
because that's what I've witnessed so many
yeah.
different times. And so what my therapist has told me is sometimes you have to like think through the full thought of like, okay, the worst possible thing that could happen, right? Like, so this is the path it could go. And then she'll say, okay, but what are all of the other ways that it could go? And let's think about
Uh,
those too. So instead of only focusing on this super extreme, most unlikely, outcome, she encourages me to also focus on all of these other outcomes that are
Uh-huh.
also probably more likely to be the case at the
Yeah.
end of the day. Um, because she's like, to you, it's like this idea of death, this idea of just sudden loss is so common that your brain goes to this to prepare you for, well, just be careful, like just this is going to happen, right? And she's like,
Uh-huh.
and just because it's telling you to prepare for that doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen. Like I used to take
Uh-huh.
it as like an omen of like,
Mm.
I would have this like vivid visual impact of like, oh my God, this thing's going to happen. Right. And I could like see it and feel it and like,
Uh-huh.
and experience it. And it hadn't happened, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I want you to take that same skill that your body has developed to prepare you for the worst possible thing. And I want you to envision it other ways that aren't terrible and catastrophic. And so that has helped me, I think, being open about it, to like my husband and, um, just so that way he can kind of help when he does start to see that spiral take place, kind of help interrupt it so that I can then input the other skills that I've learned
Mm.
over the years in therapy. Um, I think is helpful. And then there's other times that I'm like, hey, like my fear, my worry here is a legitimate concern. Like if we're
Yeah.
out on the boat tubing or something like that, it's like that's a legitimate concern that something
Yeah.
could happen because it's not like the safest thing in the world. It is fun, yes.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so understanding that there might be some truth in the anxiety, like the anxiety isn't there to kill me. It's not there to be my enemy. There is some truth in that. I just can't only go to the absolute negative. And so being able to look at all the other outcomes and like, okay, here are the things that I need to be mindful about and,
Uh-huh.
what are some things I can do to make sure that the situation is a little bit safer or that we're prepared in case something does happen. Like those types of things I think can be really helpful, kind of pulling back into what are the things I can control because I think
Uh-huh.
my anxiety generally focuses on the things that I can't, that just feel like it's nothing I could do any different to change the outcome of this. And so being able to shift the focus on one, what are some of the other positive, more likely outcomes of these experiences? And what are the things that you can control that, can prevent this from happening?
Uh-huh.
I think is also really helpful. So being open and honest with, yes, this is something I struggle with, telling the people that are closest to you like where your anxieties are and how they might present themselves, I think can also be helpful because for years, I think my husband just thought I was being difficult, and like didn't understand
Yeah.
that like, well, that's just the way my anxiety comes out when I get to that place. And
Uh-huh.
so, being honest with him and sharing it openly because it's not something you have to suffer through alone,
Uh-huh.
has been beneficial in that sense. And I've been a lot more open about it with, some of my long-term friends who maybe didn't realize, all these other experiences that I've had in my life. And so being open with them and sharing my stories and sharing the things that I've experienced has allowed them to understand me on a deeper level. And therefore, when you can when you understand somebody on a deeper level, you can support them on that deeper
Uh-huh.
level. And it's, I don't know, it just feels like a more open and honest way of being. And
Uh-huh.
in that too, and me being able to openly share my struggles with anxiety, I've had other people be like, "Oh, I have things that I need to work through, and I've not ever really considered how much they're impacting me today." My friend who, when we were younger, the one whose aunt passed away,
Uh-huh.
I was just speaking with her recently, at the DMAC Foundation dinner
Uh-huh.
about it, and she was like, "You're still holding on to all of that?" And I was like, "Yeah, we were 8. Like, our minds and body can't process that." And, she reached out a couple weeks later and she was like, I've been thinking about it." She's like, "And I think it's like there's still things from my childhood that are impacting me." And she's like, "I've never thought about doing therapy, but I think I want to after hearing you talk
Uh,
about how much it's helped you." And, and so it's like, had I not taken that step, to say something and to be open and honest about it, she maybe wouldn't have been able to take those steps for herself either. And it's courageous to
Uh-huh.
recognize you have a a worry monster or what however you want to call it, to recognize that you have that and to not just recognize it, but to actually work towards taming it, I think
Uh-huh.
is important. Like there's a saying, if you can name it, you can tame it. And I really truly believe that that's the case. And so, if you have a problem that you're facing in a relationship, in, maybe work or in an internal conflict, right? If you can sit with it instead of running away from it, because we mostly
Uh-huh.
away from it, if you can sit with it and you can name it and you can have direction with it, it ends up so much richer on the other side because you're
Uh-huh.
truly finding paths forward versus
Uh-huh.
continually feeling stuck. So,
Yeah. I like that. That was some really good advice. I appreciate you sharing that. So, and also I know you exercise a lot, right? Because I've seen your posts and stuff. So what role do you think exercise and lifting and stuff plays with that anxiety? Does it help?
oh, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, there's scientific evidence that shows the endorphins and the
Uh-huh.
hormones released while working out. They're extremely beneficial for your mental health. I think, specifically with weight training, why I love it is because oftentimes my anxiety makes me feel hopeless, makes me feel
Uh-huh.
helpless, makes me feel weak. And so the idea that I can go in and lift something for me that's relatively heavy, right? We always hear like
Uh-huh.
lift heavy shit, right? Sorry, I said a word that you're not supposed to say on here.
That's fine.
You know, you hear that, but it's like it's all relative, right? Like for
Mhm.
me, when I first started out, being able to lift a 45-pound bar was heavy. It felt
Uh-huh.
heavy. And now, being able to deadlift over 200 pounds, it's like, oh, like that's a big deal, and I
Uh-huh.
feel really good about that. Now, is it heavy in relative to what my husband could lift? Probably, it's probably not that heavy, in comparison,
Yeah.
or to other people who are power lifters. But for me, it just feels good.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I did not grow up in an environment where like, I wasn't weight training at 8 years old. I wasn't in
Uh-huh.
a gym at 16,
Uh-huh.
and I actually started going to the gym not because I wanted to work out, but because I needed moments of peace. And
Uh-huh.
um, I went to the YMCA because they had childcare as part of our gym membership. I could get 2 hours every day. I was like 2 hours, and it's like $6 a month, and like I get
Uh-huh.
2 hours. So my boys were much younger. I think like 6 months and almost 3. And I was like, my husband, we had just moved. We didn't know anybody. I was drowning at home by myself, trying to take care of the kids. He was working long hours with his job that he had at that time. And so I would take my kids, I'd drop them off at the childcare. It was like full glass walls. Some people get like really anxious about, the idea that I drop my kids off at those ages. And I'm like, I they these women were amazing. They loved my children.
Uh-huh.
Like it was safe. And then I never even worked out. I would go downstairs to the locker room. I would sit in the sauna. I would read a book. I would take a shower. I would do my hair, and then I'd go pick my kids up. And we did that for months. It was just part of
Uh-huh.
our, did it 3 times a week. And it gave me just those few moments in the week that I felt like I could be me again for just a little moment. Because when you're raising young kids, you sacrifice so much of yourself in that. And it's really hard to kind of find who you are once you've done that for so long. And then eventually it was like, okay, well, I'm here. I should do something, right? So I walk on the treadmill for 20 minutes and I'd read a book. And I was like, I
Uh-huh.
can walk and read at the same time. And that's just still like some me time, right? Then I'd go sit in the sauna, take a shower, do my thing. And I eventually met another woman who worked there. And she was a few years younger than me, didn't have kids, but we got to know each other. And she was just such a sweet, welcoming soul that I was like,
Uh-huh.
I want to get to know you better. And so she would go in and she would lift heavy shit. And I
Yeah.
like admired her for that. And I'm like, gosh, like that is so cool, you know? And so I was like, will you teach me? And so we started working out together, you know, a couple days a week. And I just fell in love with how capable I felt. And of course, like, you know, the way that your body changes when you build muscle and, you know, and all of that, like that was great, you know, but that was really just kind of the bonus to what I was mentally and emotionally getting
Uh-huh.
from the exercise. And and there's been seasons where I've been less consistent. I mean, I'm kind of coming out of a season like that right now, where, you know, I would work out, but it would be like once a week, you know, and it wasn't hard, but it was like talking my into it. It's like, Gail,
Yep.
just do it. Just go, just do it. And I'd be like, I don't want to. I don't want to. And ironically enough, I finally figured out what I needed. And for me, because I am community driven, I am driven by being around other people and their energy. I stopped actually working out from home, even though I have all this wonderful equipment. I started working out at a local gym. And being able to leave my house and just focus on me in that time in a different environment that was kind of built for that. For me, that has been huge. And I've been more consistent now in the last 3 months in my training and my mindsets around training, which I think is also important,
Uh-huh.
uh, than I have maybe in the last year. And that has felt really good. And, you know, it was like I just needed to crack the code of like, what am I struggling with at this point? So I mean, I think that it's huge for me. It doesn't and that's the thing, like your form of exercise can be whatever you need. It doesn't have to be
Uh-huh.
what I
Yep.
tell my students all the time, there is no right or wrong when it comes to exercise and health and nutrition. It really is what's going to be right for you. What's going to be the thing that you show up for, that you're excited about, that you passionately, you know, want to share with other people, right? Sometimes that's yoga, sometimes that's running, sometimes it's weight training, sometimes it's swimming, whatever that may be, like you have to find what's going to be for you. Um, because ultimately nobody else can do it for you. And so it has to be something that you can continue to show up for yourself.
Yeah. I like that. See, I knew it played a big role in all this for you. But what's funny is like that's one thing I noticed about this podcast is when we talk about struggles, typically, one common thread has always been exercise for most people. Like they when they start talking about it, it's like, hey, well, when I started going to the gym or I started doing this, this really got me out of this funk, or met a community of people that I wouldn't have met otherwise. And it's just a funny thing that I think we all deep down know that exercise and stuff like that helps, but a lot of times it's difficult, I think, for people, depending on where they're at, to be able to make that choice to actually do it. And yeah, there's something super powerful about that because I remember getting back into the gym because unlike you, I actually grew up in the gym, essentially. Like my parents, power lifters, all that stuff. Like I just grew up in that type of atmosphere. And then when I got married, I worked out a little bit at the beginning, but then there was like a 6 year little stint there where I didn't actually work out like consistently or anything at all. Like I still stayed active, but I didn't work out much. And it wasn't until my divorce when I like was like, whoa, I got to get back in the gym. And it wasn't because to the point that you said, it wasn't because I wanted to look a certain way or whatever. It's literally because I need to figure out what to do for my mental and emotional health. Cause it's like, I'm dealing with something I never dealt with before and I don't know what to do. And I still don't even remember how I got to the gym that day. I just remember showing up at the gym and paying for membership and being like, I don't really know how I got here. like I was just so out of it. And yeah, ever since it's been like this 4 year journey since of just where I made a non-negotiable. It's like, hey, Ricky, you're gonna work out 5 times a week. And I made that a non-negotiable. It's funny because in 4 years I've missed only like 2 weeks where I haven't got five workouts a week, and it's funny just how big of a role it's played in my life. So
Yeah.
it's pretty
Yeah.
wild.
I think, you know, there's something powerful about, especially when you are dealing with something heavy mentally and emotionally. And
Uh-huh.
I think thoughts are abstract. They're
Uh-huh.
very, they are whatever your brain wants to make it at that time. And if those thoughts just continue to roll around in your head, it's like a snowball effect. They just get
Uh-huh.
bigger, bigger, and bigger, and they become more and more abstract. And I think with exercise, and when I work with my clients, I don't even, what I say is let's not think about it as working out or exercise.
Uh-huh.
It's intentional movement, intentional,
Uh-huh.
whatever that might be.
Uh-huh.
And so, but when you get out of your mind and you stop those thoughts from rolling around and just getting bigger and bigger and bigger,
Uh-huh.
you're getting into your body and it's something that's tangible now. Your thoughts
Uh-huh.
are intangible. You can't hold them, you can't mold them, in that way. But when you are exercising and you're moving your body and you're doing something that's hard for you, right?
Uh-huh.
You're doing it, and again, this looks different for everyone, but you're doing something that's hard for you. You find yourself out of your mind and into your body. And there's something really therapeutic about that, giving your brain a chance to get a break from the thoughts that are just
Uh-huh.
constantly rolling around. And because we have all these amazing endorphins and hormones that come
Uh-huh.
after exercise, you can think through those thoughts so much more clearly because you're
Uh-huh.
coming to it with a fresh mind. And so I think that is probably why it's this common thread for a lot of people. Um, and and you'll hear people say like running saved my life or,
Uh-huh.
whatever that may be. And it's because I really believe there's this mental and physical connection in our body. I mean, we're holistic. Like
Uh-huh.
that's the way we are. We are like it's funny because I had a chiropractor one time who like my low back has always been a little bit, finicky. And he's like, "Well, we need to adjust you from your head to your toes." He's like, "Because your toes, if your feet aren't aligned, your feet aren't, planted firmly on the ground, your low back is going to hurt." And it's like, well, figuratively, like
Uh-huh.
where is that foot placement? Where is that
Uh-huh.
solid ground that you can stand? That's some truth in who you are and what you want in life, and that will impact everything else. So whether that's exercise or writing, I have a lot of friends who enjoy writing and they don't
Uh-huh.
publish that they write, they just write and it's very cathartic for them. Or they love to read other books that other people have written about, either a powerful woman who overcame struggles or, whatever that may be. And it's just really important, I think, for people to find that thing, whatever that is.
Uh-huh.
And I think exercise is so universal and the way that it works in the mind and the body just
Uh-huh.
makes sense that for so many people, it would be that thing that gave them the clarity that they needed to really get through it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think stuff like that forces you to be present. Right.
Yeah.
So when you think about it, because it's hard to work out and not be present. I mean, I could see maybe being on a treadmill and being in your thoughts, but even still, you're moving your body, and I think you're more present than you realize. And same thing with writing and all that stuff. I think we have to find those things that help us to be present and in the moment, rather than in the future, whatever that future might be. Right.
Yeah. Or the past. I mean,
Or the
because that's
past. Yes.
ruminate on the past. And then some
Yeah.
small, tiny memory that we had,
Uh-huh.
3 years ago, all of a sudden becomes this like huge thing,
Yeah.
like what's that meme? And it's like somebody laying in bed with their eyes wide open and they're like, halfway falling asleep. And then all of a sudden the memory from fifth grade comes in, like the most traumatic experience in fifth grade. You tripped and fell on your face in front of your class and then everybody laughed at you. It's like that comes up and then it's like the only thing you can think about. And then it's like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. You know, uh, it's like, yeah, like you have to get out of your mind sometimes
Yeah.
to figure out how to sort through the things and how to make sense of it all.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so next question. So, what are you currently going through that's positive or negative?
Um, I mean, I think I, I I don't know. I mean, it's like it's just kind of all the same things that we've already been talking about, like
Uh-huh.
learning more about who I am and what I think about things and how I feel about things and being able to communicate that. I've not always been the best communicator when
Uh-huh.
I kind of just either assume other people know what's going on in my mind,
Uh-huh.
and or I just assume that they think the same way I think. And
Uh-huh.
so the things that I think I'm most proud of in just kind of pulling my life experiences together is being able to communicate more clearly to the people in my life who want to support me, but maybe
Uh-huh.
they don't know how, you know.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm proud of that. Um and also like when my mind kind of goes towards like those thoughts of like you're an idiot, like you're whatever, you're an imposter or whatever those thoughts may come through. Um, Being able to like consciously think through that and be like, no, like just be you. Yes, you're going to be in situations that are uncomfortable when maybe you're around a group of people who have been friends a lot longer than you've been friends with them. And so they do kind of have these like long-term internal jokes and stories and things that you're like, I don't know anything about any of that, and so you kind of
Yeah.
feel more like an outsider. But, recognizing that like just because you haven't been there all along doesn't mean you're not an important part of the situation right now, and so just continuing to kind of understand how my anxiety shows up in different ways in the world and being able to overcome that and put myself in situations that help me to become better at it. Like, when we first moved back here, I was with some of my friends and, um, kind of, even though I've been in and out of the group of friends for 15, 20 years, I had been away long enough that I didn't have a lot of the same strong connections that they had. And, there was a particular situation where my anxiety definitely got the best of me. It, and it took over to the point that like I Irish goodbye the whole group. They were all like talking about something and not purposefully trying to like
Uh-huh.
push me out of the conversation or anything. But my anxiety got so bad and I just left. I left. And I came home and it just was such an overwhelming feeling. And I came home and my husband was like, "So, how was it?" And I just started bawling. And he was,
Oh.
"Oh my God, what happened?" And my husband is not like, he is very, like, he has emotions, but he does not, he's very steady. He's
Uh-huh.
very steady individual. And when he was deployed, his nickname was Cool Breeze because he never had high highs or low lows. He was always like here. He was always the one that all the guys could
Uh-huh.
come to for just like steady guidance. So, anyways, so I come home and I'm definitely the emotional one. And I just like start bawling. And he's like, "Oh, did I do something wrong? What's wrong? I just was asking how it went." And I realized, it was like, I needed to get past that. I needed to put myself in situations to get to know other people and to, again, be authentic to who I
Uh-huh.
am so that I could be confident in those situations. So that has been over the last couple of years, especially because I know we're going to be here for the long term. I've been
Uh-huh.
trying to really kind of integrate myself into different communities and different groups of people so that I have my own connections. I have my own,
Uh-huh.
relationships with people and getting to know people within the community. And I think that to me feels like a big deal, even though it's something that I have done every time we've moved. I think because we're going to be here long term, not doing it in the mindset of it's temporary has
Uh-huh.
been big adjustment for me. And something that, I've just continued to kind of put myself in those uncomfortable situations and prove that I can do it and that I
Uh-huh.
can, you know, get past it. And I have, it's so much better now. It's not perfect. There's still
Uh-huh.
that little in my head, but like I said, that voice is going to be there probably forever. The goal isn't to get rid of it. I think the goal is to kind of learn how to live a more symbiotic relationship with it and understand what role it plays and again, just because it's there and it says certain things doesn't mean those things are true. And
Yeah.
being able to differentiate those two.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of power in that, I think, because a lot of times anxiety comes from not feeling confident in the first place, or being or not doing something new for the first time. So the fact that you're like, I'm feeling anxious, and even though I'm feeling anxious, I'm still gonna do things, is that's like the way forward. That's the way through. And it's wild to me and it's totally understandable too, because anxiety can be definitely debilitating at times. It's like the people that like, this anxiety to do, I don't, I don't want to do it, and instead of like leaning forward, like maybe this is something that I should do to help with it, they're like, no, I'm never going to do that. So the fact that you were taking steps to like, even though like I don't want to do this, even you said, even with the podcast, kind of right, like this isn't something I've really done before, but you know what? I'm going to do it. I think
Of
there's
course.
power in that.
Yeah. And like I said, if it sucks, you just delete it at the end of this and I can still say I did it.
That's true.
It's because it's not what you do with it is not in my control. What's in my
Yeah.
control right now is how I'm showing up and how I'm
Yeah.
embracing the things. So yeah. And I want
Absolutely.
kids to do that. My son, my oldest son, naturally social butterfly, just every time we've moved, I've just always been so amazed. He just finds friends anywhere.
Mhm.
One of my dearest friends who we met when we lived in Washington, D.C., we still talk every day. I mean, she's amazing. But we lived in this row of townhomes, and behind the townhomes were these sidewalks that, we would get out and we'd go for walks and we'd, do all the things. And I remember we passed by the back of her townhome and there was a bike out in the back, and it was the exact same bike that my son at the time had.
Mhm.
And he goes, "That's gonna be my best friend." And it was like five houses down. And I was like, it's just a bike. We've not ever seen this kid. Okay. And sure enough, they were best friends. He declared that he's like, that's gonna be my best friend. And they'd come to our backyard and they'd ride those bikes. I mean, they were fearless, and COVID hit. So they were our COVID bubble. Like we became so close
Mm.
with them because it was like we're all in the same boat, but we're not willing to give up our community. And so we all had kind of our guidelines of if we're going to go out, we wash our hands, we wear our masks, we do our things, and then we can hang out in the backyard and let the kids play, and still have a childhood of some kind, even though it's different. And so he's just so much like that. Like he's just like, I can go out, make friends. And every time we move, he's like, comes home from his first day of school. He's like, yeah, I've got a best friend in school. And I'm like, it's first day of school. You're the new kid. Like, okay, I'm really proud of you. And then my youngest is a little bit more like me. He's a little bit more reserved. He does not like to be in situations that make him uncomfortable.
Mhm.
Um, he's and so trying to that's probably a big challenge as a parent, and being able to see the same struggles that I have experienced in my life, and then seeing my kids go through those same things. Like I so
Mhm.
badly want to save them from that, and I so badly want to just, like with my youngest, I find myself being like, it's not that big a deal, you're going to be fine, it's going to be, you're going to make new friends, you're going to, and
Mhm.
then realizing like, even when my mom told me that, when we were moving away for the first time and I was bawling and crying about not being able to make friends, I'm like, she could tell me that, but until I had actually gone out and done it, it wasn't something that I could really believe for myself. And
Mhm.
so, parenting the two different opposites in this and seeing so much of myself in my youngest and how he processes the world around him, and then kind of seeing that like my oldest is kind of like that personality that I'm like, I want to be like that. It's an interesting dynamic, and I think it'll forever be a struggle is figuring out how to parent your children in the way that they need at that time, not
Mhm.
necessarily what they think they want at that time. Because sometimes we
Mhm.
think we want something a certain way, but when in
Mhm.
reality we actually need it in a very different way. And so teaching them how to embrace that growth of like It doesn't always make sense. It doesn't always work out the way we think it will, but it still
Mhm.
ends up being okay,
Mhm.
is the challenge, but
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of wisdom in that perspective. I like that. Okay, so next question. So who's someone who's changed your life that doesn't know it?
This is a question. I read it and I've been thinking about it over and over and over again because I'm like,
Hmm.
I mean, again, I think if you are looking for powerful perspectives and a way of looking at the world in a that's different, I don't know if there's like one singular person that you can say has changed your life. Because if you think about it, like every single person you take any amount of time to get to know
Hmm.
is can make a big impact on you.
Yep.
Uh, and so like of course, like my grandmas, they were both big pieces of, and again, total opposite personalities. My dad's mom, she was a fighter. She did not take crap from anybody. She was like, it was on her mind. She would say it. She reminds me of my middle sister, like just kind
Hmm.
of like, this is me. You're going to deal with it. And while growing up, that was very uncomfortable for me because I was like, grandma's so difficult. Uh, or like she would constantly be getting on to my grandpa about things, like, you're not going to do this to me. And like they just would bicker and stuff. And like looking back on that now, she passed when I was still like early adult. And I'm like, if she was still alive today, I would see that like there's so much of her spunk and her spirit that I'm like, man, I really wish I would have actually taken the time to try to get to know her and like
Mm.
know her story. Like what made her that way. I think she was like one of 14 kids or something, so she had
Wow.
to be to be that. But at those younger years, I didn't see that who she was the development of the experiences she had in her life leading up to that point. And now, of course it's too late. I can't ask her those questions I want to ask her. But there's so much of that I'm like, like I probably could have really learned a lot from her, but
Hmm.
because I was so introverted at the time and like just so like I just have to appease everybody, it felt too much, right?
Hmm.
Now I'm like, no, I think we're meant to take up space. We're meant to be who we are. And so that is somebody that now looking back, I think I would like to be more like that in not in the combative way
Hmm.
necessary, but just like, no, like this is me and this is who I am and this is what I want. And then my other grandma, my mom's mom, we had so many things in common. She was one of four, the youngest girl. Um, and so that's the same position in my
Hmm.
family that I hold. And she had a little brother who at first she did not want. And I did
Mm.
not want my little brother at first. My parents told us that we were having a baby. My mom always jokes because I like lost it. I was like, no, I'm not going to be special anymore. I'm not going to be the baby.
uh,
So my mom was like, but you might still be our baby girl, that we may have a boy. Sure enough, we still had the boy. So, but my grandma always told the story that she didn't, back then they didn't talk about pregnancy and all that. She's like, my mom just came home with a baby. And it was like, she's like, what do I do with this? And so in her younger years, trying to process having a baby in the house and, uh she jokes because back then they lived on a farm and I guess my great grandma, so my grandma's mom, was taking a nap with my great uncle, and my grandma went in and was trying to pull him off the bed and was like, I'm trying to my great grandma was like, what are you doing, Irma? Why are you? She goes, I don't want this baby anymore. She's like, I'm gonna take the sow. And she's like, you can't do that. But then it turned out as they got older, she was actually very close to her younger
uh,
brother. So we had a lot in common. And she she was always like just a very calm spirit, but she would get so excited about little things. Like I would come and
Uh,
bring her when I was older and, I would come visit her. I'd always bring her a caramel frappe from McDonald's. It was her favorite thing in the world. And so I'd always surprise her with one. And every time she'd see it, she'd get excited to see me, but then she'd see
mhm.
what I brought her. She'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And we'd sit on her back patio and we'd talk about life and the world's problems and all the things. And we'd drink her caramel frappes. And, she just was always v- vocally open about how proud she was of me and what she wanted for me and my future. And like I'm starting to tear up. Uh, and so like it just felt like a place of acceptance and it felt like home. And so, it's like how different they were, my grandparents, my grandmas, I'm like, there's so much from each of them that I want to be in the world.
Mhm. Yeah. Isn't that sweet how that can be that way?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Get those two perspectives. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, what is a skill or talent that you could share with us?
Like, is this like a party trick talent?
I mean, if you want it to be.
I don't know if I have anything like that. Um, yeah, I mean, I think because I am an introspective person, like, and I've I've always just wanted to work with people, and again, like the skill of like trying to connect with people and find we may not have a lot in common on the surface, but deep down, like we all have something in common, like we were saying before. And so I think for me, just the skill of being able to talk to people and people are, they'll open up to me and they'll be like, I don't know why I just shared all this information with you, but you just make me feel comfortable. And so I think that that is a skill that I've continuously tried to develop. And so being able to be like a non-judgmental presence of like,
Mhm.
hey, like I'm here and, we can talk. And I think like with the clients that I work with, in my business and just helping them learn more about themselves on a deeper level and kind of opening the door for them to ask themselves hard questions, because I'm not a therapist, so I'm not going to, try
Mhm.
to therapize them when talking to them about their health and fitness and nutrition. But I think that it's, again, we're holistic. It's all connected. And
Mhm.
so if they don't have that solid footing of who they are and what they want for themselves, oftentimes their health is the thing that they kind of keep putting on the back burner, and so I think being able to help people connect some of that for themselves is really powerful. And um, that's probably a skill that has helped me be successful in what I do. Um, and have worked with, I've got clients that I've worked with for 5+ years, and they still come to me and ask advice and they go through life. Like there's some of my clients, like one of my clients, she's been with me for a really long time, and I think she started with me during COVID. And um we've gone through so many different life things, and like I've seen
Mhm.
her life kind of evolve over the time that we've been together, working together. And like I value those connections, but on the other side is I know that they are so much more self-aware and understand where their decision making processes come from and all of that. And so and not that I'm like the missing puzzle piece in any of that, but just like being able to have those open conversations of like, why do you think it is this way? Why do you think that we fall in these same patterns
Mhm.
and all of that? So I think that's probably my skill that is, I don't know, benefiting the world in a
Mhm.
way.
Yeah. I relate with that too. It's funny. I can't tell you how many positions I've been in where I've had people say that, like, I don't know why I'm sharing all this with you. But, like, Me neither, but keep talking, you know?
Right, it's helping you sort through your thoughts, and
Yeah,
if I've
yeah.
created an environment, like like when my clients will share something really vulnerable with me, like I'll even say like, thank you. Like
Yeah.
that's an honor that you felt safe enough to share that. And I do admire the fact that you
Uh-huh.
wanted to share that. And it is, and I mean, especially when you're talking about health and nutrition, people are like, it's just health and nutrition, it's just exercise, right? And I'm like, yeah, but it goes so much deeper. And
Mhm.
I have had people share stories with me that are absolutely heartbreaking,
Mhm.
that have developed, have evolved into who they are as an adult and how they view their body and how they, have their own relationships with uh, other people around them and stuff. And it's like, yeah. And they're like, honestly, just sharing it, just getting it off my chest
Uh-huh.
feels so much better. And I'm like, good, because I'm here. And
Mhm.
I can't do anything with that information necessarily because again, I'm not a therapist,
Yeah.
but appreciate that you felt open to speaking through that. And, there's something therapeutic in that too, and just being able to speak and kind of connect those dots of your past and share it with other people.
Yeah. I totally agree. Okay. Now, what are you doing for fun?
Does going to football games count? No, I mean watching just I think that is a hard thing to, especially at this stage of life, like as you know, with kids at these ages, like they still require so much of us. And so our fun is kind of revolving around watching them have fun, if that makes any sense. And so I probably should come up with something that's
Mhm.
fun, that's just for me and not, like wrapped up in what my kids are doing and having fun with. But currently at this stage, like that's where we spend all of our time. I work and to help provide a lifestyle for our family. And so getting to actually enjoy that, like we love travel. Um, and we're currently trying to plan a trip to Yellowstone for next year. And we love travel. My husband and I are getting ready to go to St. Thomas. So that's kind of something fun that we enjoy doing. And I mean, I'm having fun falling in love with weight training again and
Mhm.
exercise again and being around other people in the gym minded atmosphere, is also fun for me right now.
Mhm.
That's maybe not the most exciting fun for some people, but um, at this point, you got to find the fun in the things that you're able to do. And with kids that are younger, that, it's like that is your life. And so
Mhm.
finding the fun and doing their things. My cats made their way inside and I don't know if you can see this one just decided to he's got the zoomies. So,
No, I can't see because I think my image is in front of that side of the camera, so I can't see.
oh, okay. Okay. Yeah,
Uh,
you'll see it in the playback. That's,
Sweet.
they're fun. So maybe
That's fun.
watching cats, being a cat lady, that is my joy of my idea of fun right now.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I like this question because I think as we grow up, I think we forget how to have fun. And I think it's wired in us to have fun because, as kids, I'd say that was probably when we were probably pretty authentic, I'd say, as being kids. And it's like all we did is play and have fun. And we learned so much about the world through that. So I always like asking that question with adults because I used to ask this question when I used to go. Actually, when I worked at Nike, I would go and that would just be some things. So, hey, tell me, what are you doing for fun? And the amount of answers I would get, the people like, I don't think I am having fun. Fun? What is fun? And it's like, how how are you feeling right now? Well, I don't like life right now. Oh, well, let's find some fun. So it's a fun
I know.
question because we got to play. We're adults, but we still got to have fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I was talking to a friend and he's a trainer out
Mhm.
in like the Washington state area. And he recently kind of asked himself those same questions. And so he's like, what do I do to have fun? And
Uh-huh.
he just like is doing all these crazy fun things that's like, he's he's been playing softball on a team for a couple years
Uh-huh.
now. And he's in a sand volleyball league now. He's never played volleyball in his life. And he's like,
Uh-huh.
one of my clients, plays volleyball competitively, and he asked me to come to one of his practices one time, and I had fun with it. And he's
Hmm.
like, and I really considered myself a runner, but another one of my clients is, challenged me to run a half marathon. So now he's like, now I get to go run, and he's like, I'm having fun with it. Like, and I'm like, oh, that's really fun. And that's actually kind of the thought in my mind of like, what are some things I could do for fun?
Hmm.
And again, of course, I mean, with younger kids who are busy doing their
Yeah.
things, it's, trying to carve out the time. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, living in central Missouri where there's just not a lot of things available, finding, like what are some of those things around here that I would find
Hmm.
fun, that could challenge me in new ways,
Hmm.
but also bring that community aspect to it. Like, I think I would want to do something like that where it's like, I don't know, some kind of team sport or something that we're just there to have fun. It doesn't have to be uber competitive because I'm not a competitive person. Um, but, you know, sorry if you can hear my cat running around,
That's
but
that's okay.
he's insane. And my house is full of boys. So we have two male kittens now. I have a male dog. I've got my two boys and I've got my husband. And then it's me. And so I'm like, I drop of estrogen in this. And so yeah.
Uh, love it. Okay. So next question. So I really enjoy this one. So we've covered a lot today. So now if you could make a story about your life from when you were born to now, what would that story be called?
Oh, God. Still figuring it out.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I just, I don't know I think for a long time, I was trying to strive to like have all the answers, figure it out, make life easy, all of that. But, I think kind of as we've talked about a lot today is like there's a lot of joy in just kind of putting yourself in situations to figure it out.
Uh-huh.
And, everything is figure outable if you really embrace it. And, um, so maybe that's the word, figure outable. That would be the name of my story is
Figureoutable? Okay, how do we spell that?
I don't know.
Figure.
Outable.
Okay.
Uh, you
Should I
know,
put
because
an should I put an E before the O, or should I put just go from the R to the O? Figure outable. I'll let you
yeah,
decide.
no E. Just go
Okay.
straight from R to the O.
Figure outable. Okay. Sweet.
Everything is figure outable. I mean, there's, you
Yeah.
know, you'll go through you'll go through really hard stuff, but you'll figure it out. You'll go through stuff that's easy, and because you've gone through the things that were hard, you're gonna figure it out. Like,
Uh-huh.
or if you don't know the answer, find somebody who might be
Uh-huh.
able to you share, they might be willing to share their story with you. And again, if you're really trying to figure it out for yourself, I think you'll find little bits and pieces from every person you come in contact with if you're looking. If you're really trying to look for that. And it's not that every encounter you have with a human, it's like this mind blowing, like, oh my God,
Uh-huh.
the world makes so much more sense. But, if you get a chance to sit down and have an authentic communication with somebody, uh, like when I was younger and with the boys were younger, and it was really hard. I was my husband was working at a college at the time. He was a military science professor. And I got to know the president of the college. I met him and his wife, and I gravitated to his wife because she was this very authentic person. She was a high up VP working at a hospital. She had an amazing career. She'd given birth to twin boys, so she knew what
Uh-huh.
it was like to raise boys. But she had also her husband at the time had a daughter that he had whenever they got married, and she, kind of filled that role of stepmother. And I just admired her because I was like, you've got an amazing career. Her kids were, older. They were heading off to college.
Uh-huh.
And I just asked her one time, I was like, would it be weird to just like sit and have coffee with you? And, I just want to learn more about you. And that was awkward. Ask, like asking her out on a date. It was awkward. But it ended up, it was such a powerful thing for both of us that we, like every 6 weeks, we just made it like a thing. And we would, she would take time out of her busy schedule to sit with me and be honest with me and talk to me about her life, specifically like with motherhood and having a career and, trying to quote, do it all, and
Uh-huh.
those conversations were so powerful, but it took me putting myself in that position to ask her on a date,
Uh-huh.
and follow through with that, helped me to develop that relationship. And now, I see her and she's still kicking ass doing her stuff, but she's gotten into art. And I remember when we were talking, she was like, now that my kids are gone, like I'm trying to find things that I enjoy. Like, what do I want to do?
Uh-huh.
So she'd always been kind of artistic and she started, um, she was doing this thing. She had these little, like, small, like 3x3 cards is what they
Uh-huh.
were. And she's like, my goal is for 365 days every year or every day of the year, I'm going to make art, a piece of art. And it's just these little,
Uh-huh.
and she would watercolor and you would share it on Facebook, and she's
Uh-huh.
like, this was my, 2 of 365, 56 of 365. And now, she makes these beautiful pieces of art and she gets them featured in art studios and, you know, she's had her own art show at an art
Uh-huh.
studio and it's like, like it just started. She just was trying to find something that
Uh-huh.
she could enjoy just for herself. She's like, it's the thing that I'm doing for me. It's not for my husband, it's for my kids, it's for me. And I get to just like go down in my little room in my basement and I just get to play around and just play with colors and art and so that, like, thinking about it now, like this, it's like this epiphany that I'm like, it doesn't have to be something massive. It doesn't have to be
Uh-huh.
being the house and going and finding a sports team to be on. It could be just something as simple as buying a little art kit
Uh-huh.
and I'm going to learn something new every day. I'm going to try something new every day. It doesn't have to be big. It takes, she's like, it takes a total of 20 minutes. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like that's pretty cool. And to see how that's evolved for her now is really admirable and pretty cool.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I think that's also a big testament to consistency. Like if you think about her showing up every single day and seeing what that turned out to be just by doing something, yeah, something small every day, but 350 or 365 times, it's like you're going to get good at your craft real quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
like
I'm
that.
sure, because again, like her accountability was she'd posted on Facebook. And
Hmm.
so, and I'm sure
Yes.
that probably times in that year that she shared something that she was maybe less proud of.
Oh, yeah,
What
absolutely.
it didn't kind of meet the expectations she had set for herself. And so, but she did it anyways. And she kept working on that. And so, yeah, consistency is so important. That could be a whole nother topic of a
Hmm.
podcast conversation that, that's really what the core of what I work with people on every day
Hmm.
is how do you build consistency? And consistency is not constantly. And that's oftentimes a misconception for a lot of people.
Okay, so we only have two parts left of the podcast. So this next section is for you. So this is kind of like, I always say like your 15 minutes of fame. So this is for you to promote any businesses you're working on, any socials, to talk about anything that maybe we haven't covered. So this is your time. So however you want to take it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I'm a coach. I work with people um to help them focus on their goals,
Uh-huh.
identify their goal first. Sometimes people don't know what their
Uh-huh.
goal is. And I love working with women. I do work with men too, but I love
Uh-huh.
working with women because um, again, we're just kind of conditioned to fit into a certain role and we can get lost in that. And so I enjoy
Uh-huh.
working with women. And I really enjoy working with them in that repair, in working towards a better relationship with themselves and their body. Um, and that's not just what their body looks like or performs. It's really
Uh-huh.
about like, how do you accept your body and who you are today? Because if
Uh-huh.
you can't do that, if you can't work towards that today, it's not going to magically get better just because
Uh-huh.
you've lost 20 pounds or, whatever. Um, and and so I love working with people doing that. And I almost have a full roster of clients right now. Um, but I've got some spaces for some extras, and
Uh-huh.
I love working with people who want to work with me. If they,
Uh-huh.
whether it's somebody I meet, out and about, or if they've seen a post, a social media post, and they're like, "I want to work with you." I love working with those individuals. I'm lucky enough; I work for a company that also kind of markets and brings people in, so I get
Uh-huh.
people onto my roster that I've never met with or connected with before. And so that's fun too. But so that's kind of the work wise, that's kind of the biggest thing. I should be more active on my social media and like putting out the information that I have up here.
Uh-huh.
But I struggle with getting it out and like knowing how to cohesively get it out in a way that conveys my message. So that's probably one of those things I need to work on. The consistency piece of it is, getting better at the craft of sharing that information. So, um, and I enjoy that and all the things that come along with, again, just working with people and all of that. So that's kind of I guess, the gist of it, of who I am. I'm a coach by nature and enjoy just working with people and meeting them where they're at and helping them make improvements. Um, to them, they may feel like, the improvements they make are small and insignificant, but little by little, they make big change. And,
Uh-huh.
we might go back 6 months and be like, do you know how far you've come in 6 months?
Uh-huh.
And those are always some of the most fun conversations I have with people. It's like, taking them back. And again, not just looking at their before and after pictures, but looking at like bringing up like the different mindset shifts that they've made. Like, you're not the same person. When I talk to
Uh-huh.
you on a daily basis now, you are not the same person that you were 6 months ago.
Yeah.
You look at things in a different way. And, uh, and I think being that outsider's perspective, I can have that objective view of how far they've come and the changes that they've made. And so being able to make them aware of that is really fun. And I think it's in seeing that click for them. And I'll
Uh-huh.
have clients reach out to me who are no longer clients of mine. And they're like, you're still in my head. I still hear your voice. And that is pretty freaking cool. Not that I'm a constant voice in their head, but to know
Uh-huh.
that our time together meant something to them that has shaped how they view themselves or how they view their consistency and how they're showing up for themselves. And it's pretty cool.
I like that. Okay, so if you want people to find you, where can they find you?
Well, you can find me on social media. So I'm Jodi Allison Phillips on Facebook. Um, and I'm sure you have a way to link that in
Uh-huh.
somewhere on this.
Uh-huh.
And then on Instagram, I should know this. I think I'm Jodi P08. It's very exciting. Very
Sweet.
exciting here. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, so that's pretty much where you can find me. And then in person, you can find me at the school. I volunteer for the middle school PTA
Uh-huh.
organization. You can find me at the football field right now or the baseball field in the spring. You can find me at the art gallery with my youngest. He takes art lessons 1 day a week. I pick him up from school and he goes and does that. And so anywhere that you find my kids, you'll probably find me. And this is my little guy who's been causing all my mischief in the background.
Oh, hey there.
Yeah.
Okay, what's his name?
This is Astro, like the Houston,
Astro. Okay.
like the Houston Astros. My kids have been begging for cats for years, and I'm like, like at the time, like I'm like, I can't handle another living thing I have to take care of. And so over the summer, I challenged them to come up with a plan to prove to me and their father that they could manage the responsibility of having an animal.
Uh-huh.
And so they did. They got together and they like wrote out, different things they could do to show that they were, responsible and all the things. And they had to take care of the dog because we already had the dog. And I'm like, you have to feed him. You got to make sure he's got water. You guys have to take him for walks, you know. And so, anyways, they we finally were like, okay, we'll go get a cat. And so we met with a friend who lives on a little farm, and she had multiple litters of kittens. And of course, we got there with the intention of getting one cat, but we got two. So we have another little guy running around here as well. We have a shadow. And so
Mm.
each boy has their cat, but you know, they're the family's cats. So yeah.
Nice.
If you find my children, you will probably find me pretty somewhere around the vicinity, um,
Yeah.
meeting other moms and trying again, kind of keeping myself social
Yeah.
and all. So
Okay. So here's the last thing I do on the podcast, which I always have fun with. So what happens is I had the previous guest create a question for you, so you don't know what question this is, and then
okay,
you get to create a question for the next guest.
okay.
So the question is, what is your why?
And who is this question from?
Do
And
you
what is
do you
their
really want to know who it's from?
yeah,
Okay, this is from a gentleman named Ricky Johnson.
Ricky Johnson. Okay.
Okay.
What is my why? Um, I mean, I think just connection. I mean, I want to connect with people and help them connect with themselves. And, I just think that it's important connecting with my family, connecting with
Mhm.
friends. It means so much. And, there's that question that we always used to get asked as kids, right? Like, would you rather be rich or famous?
Uh-huh.
And through different seasons, probably, you would change your mind or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and I don't know that either of those really brings change in the world,
Uh-huh.
uh, unless you are willing to connect with something that you can be passionate about that helps other people view the world in a different way. So,
Okay. So connection.
connection. Yeah,
Okay. I dig it. Okay. So now what question do you want to leave the next guest?
probably along those lines. Like, what does what does connecting with another human mean to you?
Hey, what does it mean to you?
Growth, perspective. It's probably the biggest things because that's what I've gained the most from in being in those positions to connect with people.
Okay. Cool. I dig it. So I'm not going to answer that yet, but I do have this special thing that I do every 10 episodes. I answer all the guest questions. So when we get to episode 50, I'll go back and I'll recap our episode and then I will answer your question. So
Okay.
you'll have to tune in so you can see what
I
I say.
mean, that might goes along with this podcast, right? You're
Yeah,
connecting
it
with people
does. Yeah.
and their stories and putting their stories out there so other people can connect with it and, learn from experiences that maybe they didn't realize they have a lot of connection with or a lot of commonalities with. Because like I don't know Ricky Johnson, but now I'll be interested to
Mhm.
read or to listen to his podcast when you put it out there.
Yeah, yeah, his will debut the week before yours. So yeah, he's got a good story too. That'll be good.
Okay.
Okay. So Jodi, I appreciate you hopping on this podcast. I'm so glad we made it work because I know we've been talking about it for I think way too long.
Yeah.
So so I'm glad you hopped on here. It's been a really nice conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. It's been fun. And you
Okay.
got me to do something new that now I can say, yeah, I did that thing. And
Yeah. You can
yeah.
tell people you did a podcast. I did a podcast. You know what? Here's the link to the podcast that I did.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Sweet. Okay. So anything else you want to share before we close down?
No, no. I just think if you're feeling like you haven't found your people yet, It's okay. You'll find them, but you have to put yourself in positions to find them. You won't, you will not find them on accident. Your group of people, the people that you can be authentic with. Um, if you haven't found them, they're there. You just have to keep trying and keep working towards that.
Okay. I
Because
like that.
they're probably looking for you too. They're probably looking for someone that they can
Hmm.
be with. But again, if you don't put yourself in the position to meet them, you might not ever meet them.
Mm. Okay. I like it. That's the perfect closeout statement. So thank you, Jodi.
Yeah. Thanks, Ricky.
Okay. Talk to you later.
Bye.